Welcome in everyone to the Challenge After Show. Tonight, Jenna and I are talking about the challenge. Oh my god, the challenge All Stars. Five rivals. Episode, what are we on? Eight. You derival me crazy.
That's really funny because in my notes app I put episode 6, three question marks because I didn't know which one it was and I didn't feel like pausing it to figure it out. I was like, I'm gonna go with 6. I think we're on episode 6, but I did put about 4 question marks because I wasn't sure. And now I know we're on episode 8.
You know
So
what's funny? During the episode tonight, I don't it was like Steve was talking to someone and they were talking about like how many more episodes are there going to be, or like how many more chances are there going to be to get a star, something like that. And they were like two. So if that is true, then you're looking at 9 and 10 and having it be a 10 episode
Mhm.
whole thing, like we had said from the start. Because someone in our comments had wrote that there might be 12 or 13 episodes this season, and I was like, it's usually 10 for All Stars. I don't know why they would up it, but that's interesting that tonight Steve actually talked about it with somebody else, saying that they only had like two more chances for these people to either get a star or you're going home. So,
Yeah, I think it was Shane that did the calculations. He was like, I think
and
we're
he was
gonna
talking with Steve though, correct?
When he was talking with
Yeah,
Steve, yes, but Shane was like, let's lay out the numbers. Let's figure out, how many more opportunities we have
right.
here. But, I imagine that when the cast members are signing up for this show and they get their contract, that they would absolutely know ahead of time, like the amount of weeks that this would ultimately run for. If
Right.
you leave, you get eliminated. Obviously, you don't make it to the last week, but I'm sure that they would probably say like, 10 regular weeks and then 2 weeks of a final. Like you sign up for something unless the production company is super elusive. I don't know. I definitely don't know for sure, but I would imagine there would be some sort of understanding of how many weeks you're going away. Or when you sign on, hey, this is a 10 episode show, a 10 episode
Right.
season. So for Shane to say that, he probably has a good idea or
Yeah.
knows for a fact that it's going to be 10 episodes.
Hmm. All right, let's do overall thoughts.
Okay.
I'm going to
Oh,
let you go first because last week I said I didn't like the episode and I went first. So you go for, I don't want my opinion to stray yours because I'm sure it could. Yeah, but go on. You go
well,
first.
it's funny. Well, you love this season though, right? You
Yeah,
love the season, but sometimes I feel like 8 out of 10 times you're gonna say you didn't like the episode.
that's a lot of times. Okay. Well, okay,
Well,
did you like it or not this
but I'm
episode?
bad but I'm also bad at percentages and I'm an over exaggerator entirely. I did like it. I think this episode, the social game, the politics are getting so messy in this house, and it's like people scrambling to stay in the game. So much more social game than it is like athleticism, competitive game
Oh yeah.
happening right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So on that point, really good. It's funny because you always don't love the daily challenge and I always defend it. I definitely found things to like about this one. I laughed when
Yeah.
certain people could not grab the star, but otherwise, not the best daily. I'll give it to you if
Right.
that's your opinion there. I can agree with you on that one.
So when I saw the idea of the daily, I was like, this is gonna suck. But what the challenge used to always be good at, and they did it tonight, was adding in the comedic moments for the daily because this daily, if you look at it from the outside perspective, I'm like, that's all they do. Like, what is that? Where's the thrill for us? They can have the best thrill ever going off a cliff, but nothing for us. But what they did with the editing, with the laughing of like the two of the people that didn't get the star, and we'll talk about that. Anyways, overall, this was an awesome episode. This
Mhm.
had the fight between Nani and Turbo. I can't wait to break this down. This was so, and it wasn't even really Nani and Turbo. It was
I know.
Adam and Turbo. It's so,
Yeah.
and then it was Melissa's getting involved. I mean, this was great. This overall great episode. The daily, like you said, the concept of it not great, but I thought they did really good with what they could do with it, and I have a
Mhm.
lot of comments on that as well. So yeah, but I love this episode. Last week was like the only episode of the season where I just really didn't like it. I thought this was a great bounce back episode for, of course, my opinion, because overall, everyone loved last week's episode except me, by the way. And maybe one,
Well,
I know there was one other person in
you're
the comment
outnumbered.
feed that it was boring, and I thought it was boring too. But this episode was great, and I can't wait to break it down. Um, let's start with the vignettes at the top of this whole thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Is
Go
there a
ahead. See
vignette?
us through.
Well, I was gonna say, is there a vignette that stuck out to you, or else then I'll just go
Um,
through. But
I want one of these red light masks. That's
okay.
definitely how so many people have them, and they all
Yeah.
brought them to the To
Yeah,
where
so this whole red light therapy, it's been around for a while, but the mask on the face, I hadn't seen that till recently. Now, the hair helmet that Shane has,
right.
he's had this for years now because he used to have it back in the day, and Bananas would make fun of him for having the hair helmet when he had it years ago. Personally, if y'all want to know a little something about my life, I have a hair helmet as well.
Nice,
And yeah,
Dan.
I
Is that
use
how
it every
you keep
morning.
that
You got
voluminous,
whatever
luscious
I have,
hair?
whatever I have left here because it's starting to recede a little bit. So, but anyways,
Wait,
I
are we doing like an ad read right now? Or are we
I didn't
in
say the brand of the
emergency?
hair helmet I had. So
That's true. You're just promoting
because I
hair
don't, the
health
one that
in
Shane
general.
has, the one that Shane has is definitely not the one that I have. Um, but yeah, it's like I use it like you just to put it on. It times you like 6 minutes a day. Shane was saying,
Wow.
here's the thing, it's so quick. Shane's like, I leave this thing on all day, which
Well, he's
literally,
red light. He's talking about the red light, but that was hysterical. That was like, I think that
oh,
there's something you can do to overkill the skincare.
I'm
Like,
pretty
there's,
no, but I'm pretty sure you're not. I think it's you're not supposed to keep it on all day. There's like I know for the hair helmet, you're not supposed to keep that thing on all day because you can technically just keep pressing it every time it goes off for the 6 minute mark that it does. You could, in theory, press it again and just keep wearing it. But it's supposedly that's not good for you. So was he just talking about the face though, or was he?
I mean, if you think about it, it's a red light therapy. It's not like a UV, like sort of light from tanning outside or tanning in a tanning booth, but I imagine it'd have like a similar enough effect, right? If you keep it
Yeah,
on all day, I don't know if you should have like this manipulated light force on your face all day, but it did have
right.
me cracking up. And I love how he said if somebody stays over, he's like, I wake up and it's
Yeah,
on me first
yeah.
thing in the morning.
That's so funny. Yeah. That was it was a great comedy to start off the episode there. Um, Then they talk about exactly what I brought up last week, which is if we can get two star holder teams in, then the next daily challenge will be a star daily. And then that's how, because I was talking last week, I'm like, how does Nicole, how did Veronica, how do they think they're going to get this star? They
Mhm.
must all be trying to get the daily one because they're too afraid to go into an elimination.
Yeah.
Because then
Or
listen,
just
if it's a,
waiting until there's no other option.
right, exactly. Then they will. Right, exactly. So they, and it's funny because we brought it up last week. Now they're literally saying it verbatim. That's what they
Mhm.
want to do, and it all came to fruition tonight. We'll get into that too. So there was that, and then there's the turbo stuff, which
Yes.
is the best part of the episode. So first of all, obviously, for some reason, Turbo decided to make his bed in the living room. Right, like he clearly that's what he decided to do. They showed shots of like people walking by him. They're like drinking, they're partying, and he's like mad at them because he's trying to sleep. And I'm like, this is, but like Turbo, welcome to the challenge, Turbo. You're back. You're finally like, this was a great Turbo episode for his stupid stuff, for his great stuff he does. Like, everything was all Turbo this episode. We can get into how do you feel about what he did? Because I mean, I have very clear thoughts on how I feel about this. So,
Yeah. Okay, so first off, I'm so curious the backstory of why he's choosing the living room. Like there has to be some sort of reason here. Like obviously he does not like the cleanliness and the hygiene of the people in the house, right? Like he's talking about Adam farting in the
right.
common space, everybody leaving their dishes and their plates everywhere.
Yeah.
He kind of loses the argument if it's like that's where you're choosing to be. If you're
Right.
kind of choosing to be in the kitchen party room area, people are going to stay up late, leave their beers, leave their plates. But my question is, why is he gravitating to the living room? Like, is there an issue in the bedrooms too? You know what I mean? Like, I can't remember who he was rooming with, and I wish I did. They're
I don't
going to
remember if he ever,
comments.
I don't know if they ever showed who he was. I don't remember. So
But it's almost make me think like if he's choosing to live in the living room, like he obviously is not getting along with his roommates or he thinks his room is gross. Like is it connected to a bathroom? Is that also
I
disgusting?
think
So,
I'll tell you what, I'll tell you what it is. It's Turbo. He wants space. He wants his privacy, and he thinks that's the best way. No one's going to sleep near him. Maybe he doesn't like the idea of someone sleeping right on top of him with a bunk bed, and the other bunk beds are, they're right there all next. He wanted like his own space. He just wants to be on his own. He thinks he's like this whatever, whatever type of guy he is. Like he just needs to like be different and do his own thing.
but
But
he's doing then the in complete opposite of that.
I,
You cannot be on your own if you're going into the living room where
once everyone goes to
everyone's hanging
sleep, in
out.
theory, he is, and that's maybe what he's
Sure,
going
but it's
for.
the
But like,
challenge. People are obviously staying up until like 2 a.m., It's
yeah, look,
yeah.
look. I was
So
on. I'm sure you were as well, but I was on Team Adam 100%. Like, because Adam admitted, he goes, "Look, I agree with the dishes and the drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably do a better job cleaning this up. But dude, you're in a common space trying to sleep, and you're mad at us for being near you. Go choose a bedroom." I mean, it's just I think to everybody watching this, it was very cut and dry. But to Turbo, for some reason, he's just in his own world, and he can't wrap his head around what other people, their thought process. Like it's his way or the highway type situation in a way.
Yeah. Well, I think it's his relationship with the housemates. He's obviously not very friendly, very approachable. He has a history of being somebody who's like combative, confrontational,
Yeah.
hostile. So there's all of that background, all of that context to it. But if you strip all of that down, which you can't, right? Because that's such a big element of it. You can't strip away like the delivery of his message, the way he's yelling at people. But truly, I couldn't argue with what he was saying. I was like, yeah, I don't want to live in a pigsty either. Like,
Yeah, but
if you ever
that, but
lived with people in college, I would fight with my roommates and I would
sure.
very poorly communicate my frustration to them because if there was a time where I felt like I was the only person cleaning, right? Like that can
Yep.
be it's like such a simple thing that you think would be so easy to communicate, but when you mix in different styles of living and like hygiene, it can, yeah, it can be really difficult
I
to
mean,
share
this is
spaces.
not the Jenna. This happened every season on The Real World
Yeah.
back in the day. I mean, they
Yeah,
would talk about
exactly.
it. They made it like an issue of the house, like that they would actually talk about and not edit out. I'm sure the same stuff's been happening on the challenge for years too. But I think what it came down to, what Adam and I think what also Melissa were kind of referring to was, well, Turbo, if you have an issue though with us just being around you in general, though, like your sleeping arrangement needs to be in the bedroom. Like you don't
For
need to be in the.
sure, but I didn't see that he argued that. Did he say that specifically? I thought it
What do
was
you
pretty
mean? What do you mean?
like to me, I all I heard from him was like everyone's leaving their dishes, everyone's leaving their plates. You
Yeah,
guys are
And Adam addressed the fact that he's like, yeah, I agree. We do all need to be better about that. And I think everyone could have left that how it is. The problem is, like, people are gross. Like, I feel
yeah,
like for a guy, I feel like I'm like a super clean person. I like things orderly. I like things like organized. It's like I wouldn't be like, but there's a lot of people in the world that just don't, they will leave their stuff everywhere. They're just gross. And it is what it
yeah,
is. But that's why when you put 30 people in a house together, there's no way you're going to get 30 people that all want the same, orderly conduct as far as keeping your dishes in line and whatnot.
yeah.
But my point is that Adam did bring up that issue and agreed with Turbo. And then all he said to Turbo was, but you also, this is a common space. So you want this area to be cleaner. I agree with you, but we want you to sleep in a freaking bedroom and
Yeah.
stop taking up this space all night long and making it. There was stuff on camera we didn't see, and I'm sure it was Turbo being like, "You guys need to leave my area." It's things like him, like probably
Right,
saying stuff like
right.
that. Well, it's not your area, dude. This is a common space. So there's
Yeah, no,
also
you're
that
probably
side of
right
it.
about that. And Adam did ag agree enough with like, yes, people should clean up their plates. I
Like,
agree
yeah,
with
right.
but yeah, I mean, honestly, like I couldn't believe I found myself. Sure, again, like I said, his
But I'm
delivery
on Turbo's side too. I
he's
wouldn't
not
want
a
it to be
good
dirty out there.
yeah,
I
yeah,
agree
that's
with
what
Turbo
I'm
in that regard. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like he's not a good communicator. You know what I mean? Like he's very like blunt and hostile with his delivery. But I was like, am I on Turbo's side here though? Because I wouldn't want to live in a pigsty either. Like I couldn't believe I was thinking it, but I was like, but I can't argue with him here. Like I get it. I'm kind of on his side with the cleanliness.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Adam for just like not being scared of Turbo, and then shout out to
Yeah.
Steve, and then shout out to Steve for being scared of Turbo because what a great comedy duo Adam and Steve are. Steve's like I'm fascinated by Turbo, but I'm also just really scared of him. Like I just those two together are just like they're like yin and yang. They're complete opposites in a way, but they're also teammates because Adam is not afraid to just say what how he feels about Turbo. Where Steve, on the other hand, who you think of kind of Steve as like that guy, like he doesn't care either. He doesn't give any shits about anything too. He's like, I'm just gonna do what I want to do. But then he's also scared of Turbo, which is just so comedically funny to me.
Yes,
I
agreed.
think I'd be on the Steve side too. Not gonna lie, I think I'd be a little
Well,
scared of
listen,
Turbo.
I think there's another layer than just being fear based. Like, yeah, Toto is Toto. Sorry, I have a friend named Toto. Turbo is pretty scary. But otherwise it's also just like a moot point. You know what I mean? To like try to get through to him. Like everybody who
That's
tries to talk to him, he'll never see their side. Like
right.
it's just yeah.
Yeah, I can
There's also
see.
the element of like, why waste our time here? Like we're not going to get through to him. There's just no sense of doing this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so this is the scene though. This is where Nani gets mad at Turbo. So like this is the scene that I had saw at the beginning of the season, and that's why I knew that they weren't going home last week, and why that episode was spoiled for me basically at the end there. So
Yeah.
we saw the scene now. So I thought maybe they go home tonight. I'm like, we saw the scene now. They must,
Yeah.
but they obviously survived, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Um,
Yeah. Nani is fed up with him though. Like
I
she,
don't blame her. And you know
I don't
what?
blame her at all either.
I would be scared of Turbo, but at the same time, I might have to react like Nani did and just start yelling at him out of frustration because he doesn't listen. He doesn't take into consideration other people's feelings. And it would be super frustrating to work with. Oh, by the way, we're going to have to ask Adam if we can get him on the podcast if his middle name is, in fact, POS. We'll have to ask
POS.
him that.
Yes. Yes. And we have to get confirmation on if he is farting in the common spaces.
Right. Because,
And if that's on purpose, if he's trying to leave like a
right.
trail for Turbo as he's walking out of the room.
Right.
Is
Was he
that
doing
like
that on
a game of
purpose?
like mental warfare,
I was just
Like,
gonna say the same thing. You nailed. I was gonna say guerrilla warfare. Is he trying
yeah.
to get on Turbo's, nerve because he knows that Turbo's in a common space? He's like, "You want to be in a
Mhm.
common space? Take this, take that." Yeah, good call.
Wild to be able to produce a fart on a snap of a finger like that if you
Speaking of
can.
wild, that is Frank's favorite word to use. He says wild all the time.
Yeah, Frank and Shane. We'll get into them
Oh,
this
I
episode.
can't wait to get into Frank and Shane
We'll
here.
get
Okay.
into them.
Any other vignettes you want to talk about?
Nah, that was the big one, I think. I mean, other than so Melissa steps in, and that ends up
Yes.
becoming a bit of a theme in this episode.
Yeah, she doesn't like the way she's being talked to by Turbo either. I'm on Melissa's side with that. Turbo does not communicate well, so I get
Yeah, and
where this
Melissa
is going.
stays funny because later on in the episode, she's like, I'm gonna leave a plate. I'm gonna leave
Ah,
a plate right there by his head. And again, as disgusting as I think it would be to live in that environment, it's like funny of her to do to him.
it is funny for her to do that. I will say, can her and Nicole ever get on the same page about anything though? They
I hope
are.
not, because I love
It's so
how
entertaining, but they are
hysterical.
an awful team. Like not just like bad at stuff together, but they have no communication skills and they get along about nothing. Nothing do they agree on. It's ridiculous.
What they have going for them, though, is that they're fun and funny.
What they have going for them is no one takes them seriously, so they let them skate by. They're not even they don't even have a star yet. Like let them skate. If they had a star, they wouldn't be skating by like this. If you think about that, right? Someone would be trying to take their star from them because they're so bad. But since they don't have a star, it was like, yeah, you guys can stay in the house all you want. We know you're not stealing our star.
Sure, but that's kind of a superpower in its own way, you know? Like I would feel like I always envied the kid who didn't take stuff too seriously. It always seemed like they were just like everything had a positive spin. They could make fun of
I
everything.
agree with that notion, but uh I don't know if that's what they're going for. I just think they're that bad at the challenge. Like I appreciated that too with someone like friends of mine growing up who just like everything just like runs off their shoulder, nothing bothers them. They go with the flow. They're just smiling all the way there. I don't know if that's what they're doing.
I mean, it seems like they're able to laugh at themselves, like doing so poorly in the challenge today, doing so bad at the
That
puzzle,
okay, they
and
did.
also missing the star. Is like they're at the point they have to become self-aware. Like it's episode, what did you say, 8? So, I mean, it's been 8 episodes of this. You start to come to it, pretty quickly. They seem like
Yeah.
they're at the point where like this is us, this is our identity. So, LOL, we didn't finish the puzzle in a timely manner, and also we couldn't grab the star.
That was funny when she's
Oh,
like,
it was
it took
so
us three
funny.
minutes to do the puzzle anyways, and then Nicole was like, yeah, I know how to tell time or whatever it was, because yeah, they're not even gonna
And
be
then
close.
their fingertips just graze
So good.
the star. It's so funny.
Well, let's get into it then. It's called Shooting for the Star. I'm pretty sure it's probably the same location as that one where they had to drive the car off the cliff.
It
Is
looked
that
like it totally looked
Was it
like
not? I mean, was that even from the same? Because they went from obviously filming that season to coming into this season of All Stars. So I'm wondering, was that from 40 though when they drove the car off the cliff, or was that from another? It
it
must have been
it
40.
was. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
just this flagship version that was just on
yeah.
MTV
So
for the 40.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking same exact
No,
location.
for sure they double dipped. I can't blame them. And they
Yeah.
tried to parse it out long enough for, far enough away from when the last season aired, but you can't do that to Dan, the super fan. He's gonna catch
No,
it.
I'm gonna catch it. And okay, a couple more things I caught. First of all,
Okay.
that quad that they used was was it's so stupid.
It's literally like a toddler's like motorized
It was
Barbie
it was
car.
on a freaking track. It was they wouldn't even let them have they wouldn't even let them turn left or right. It was on the front wheels didn't spin. The front wheels stood still and went forward. The back wheels spun, but it was on a track. So literally, this is why this daily was so dumb, but thank God we had the comedy aspect which made it great. They had to press the gas and just go. There was no, there was nothing.
Yeah.
It took no skill to do this. It was so
Yeah.
bad. And then they showed Ashley and Dario from behind going off the thing. They sped up the footage because they were going so slow. They had to make it look more entertaining. Go back and watch it. They
Not
sped
catch
up their
that.
footage. I was like, what are we doing? So
Oh
that
my God,
that
I
that
didn't catch that. But the funny thing, the husband on the couch take,
oh good.
that you always said, make sure you have the husband on the couch
Mhm.
take. And I didn't think I had it, but one that just came to mind is he was laughing at they showed one of their old relationship photos of them like posing by an ATV on one of the vacations they
It
went
was
on.
in
Like
Cabo.
as if that makes them some like experts at driving ATVs off of cliffs when they're on tracks, when they're
It's
little
one thing for
motorized.
Dario just to say in a confessional, yeah, we went to Cabo, we drove cars, but they to show the picture as
Yeah.
well was like
Like
nice.
guys, see, they know about ATVs, this
You
couple.
know, but they don't know about riding a quad on a track where all they have to do is hold down the gas. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if they'll be able to do this.
I mean, it looked like they did a really good job though. They were in the top four. So
Yes, I love how they had to break it down top four for us, by the way.
yeah,
Um,
why top four? Why not top
yeah,
two?
why not top two? Why not even top three? Why would they?
Yeah.
Because they were all separated by seconds. But here's the thing. For the first time in a while, for this season at least, I didn't think that it was manipulated to see who the winner was. They were showing us at least the time on the bottom right-hand
Yeah.
side for the most part. And Steve and Adam at like 16 seconds, they went over to the quad.
That's
So
crazy.
if
Yeah.
anyone beat that and but they still made Steven Adam the winner, I'd be shocked. It looked like they legitimately destroyed the competition, even though they said it was only by a few seconds there. But by
Yeah.
16 seconds, and when Steven Adam jumped on that quad, they like slammed their bodies on that thing and went for it. And they ripped that star out of the sky, by the way. They ripped
Yeah.
they were
Out
jacked up doing this. It was great.
Well, they need to keep winning. This is, they've turned the tables of the house, so they need to keep that pattern going. But outside of the timer at the bottom, I actually was duped by Shane and Davon because I thought they were maybe going to win this because the way that it showed, the way it appeared to me was that they did it the quickest.
Okay. Yeah. Well, another thing on Shane and Dave Vaughn. Did you hear when TJ was like, "Are you guys ready?" And most people just like nod their head or say yes. When TJ goes to Shane, "Are you ready?" Shane yells, "Yes!" And go back. It's so funny.
I
He's
love
like,
it.
he let out like a battle cry, like he was about. Because I mean, I guess if you think about it, I mean, he really wanted to obviously win for not that.
Yeah.
But who
I
knows?
mean, I wish we had more of a dynamic between Shane and Devon that we were seeing because they both have big personalities
Yep.
and they've had, that very like tumultuous fighting history. So I wish that we could, I don't know, I guess they're spending most of their time apart until they have to, right?
Well,
Like, but I
look,
wish we would see more funny dynamics between them because when we do,
they
it's funny. Like Devon is like, Shane, you better drive this because I'm getting on it. I'm leaving it in park.
Yeah, I'm disappointed too because there's a lot of comedy to have between those two. The biggest thing that they've really talked about all season with them is that they're kind of working on opposite sides of the house, but they're partners and they have to be together. However, they are the most featured on the poster for this
Mm.
season. They're the biggest
Mm.
picture there. So my truth of them possibly making it to the final is I think still in the running there.
Mm,
They are the most prominent
interesting.
featured team. So there you go.
Okay, I mean that could be a red herring though because they don't have a star. They need to get one. They could
I
potentially
think
get one at the
I
challenge
think I
next
think
week.
this daily next week because now we know it's a star. It's going to be a star daily. I think this is where they get it. I just have a feeling.
Yeah,
I have no spoilers. I promise you that. Um, because
yeah.
honestly, there's only let's do the math here, Jenna. There's only I think 6 teams left. Does that or maybe 7? but we can do the math. I think it's six.
Do
So
the math.
my point
Run
is,
through it.
if four teams already have a star, there's only two teams that need stars, but I think there's three. There's Nicole's team, Shane's team.
Veronica and Katie need a star.
So there's three teams that need a star.
Those
So
are
my
the
point
three,
is,
right?
there's a 1 in 3 chance that one of those teams gets a star
Well,
next
did
year.
we say Shane and Davon?
Yeah, Shane,
You
Nicole,
said them. Okay, sorry.
Veronica. I'm trying to think if there's another one. I think that's it though. So yeah,
Melissa, yeah. Yeah,
there's
no, they're
seven. There's 6 teams left. Three have a star. There's a star up for grabs, and there's three. Yeah, so there's six. Yeah, yeah. There you go. I'm telling you, there it
together.
is.
That's six. Yeah.
All right, this is good stuff. All right. Any other thoughts on shooting for the star? I'm looking at my notes
I
here.
mean, yeah, poor Veronica and Katie. They could have
Oh,
solved
that's
that
a good one
puzzle
too. Yeah.
as quick as anybody, which they likely did, right? Because they solved it very
They looked like they
quickly.
were good.
They are the shortest team on the cast. Did they drop it down a little bit lower for them? Like that would be one time when I where I would advocate for like
An equalizer.
maybe equalize it here.
It's funny too, though. Like if Katie wasn't so afraid of heights, she could have just stood up, not on like the seat part, but stood on the back of the quad because she was sitting there. If she stood there and then at the end jumped, then I think that she could have done it. But so she had like so many things working against her there.
Yeah.
Not only is she short, but she's also afraid. She could have literally stood up on that quad and then jumped and probably had a better chance at it, obviously.
What they
Uh,
should have done is put Katie on Veronica's shoulders and
okay, well now
driven
we're
the
getting
car
crazy
off of the
considering
cliff, and then
Katie
they
is
could
so
have
afraid.
died.
Well,
Well,
then
she's coolly strong, so she was going to do it for the moment
apparently.
and put herself on Veronica's shoulders is what they should have done.
Yeah. Uh, she was not cool. She was cold in this episode for that challenge for sure. All right. Anything else? I wrote Stephen Adam. Well, cool. I said she was cold. I went cold like she's not good. No?
Sure.
I was doing a temperature joke that didn't
Okay.
work. Stephen
Got it.
Adam, I wrote comedy act throughout this whole
Yeah.
episode, by the way.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Steve has also been so quiet, man. Like, but when we do see him, he doesn't have to try to be over exaggerated with, like anything zany or anything in his confessionals. He's just whatever he just says, as like dry and quiet as his delivery is just so funny.
It's so
Just
funny.
him being
No,
himself.
I'm think Steve and Adam are one of the major highlights of this season so far for sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who's a close second. Turbo made a run for it in this episode just because it's so
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I mean, listen, Nicole and Mel, they're holding it down. Veronica
Oh
and
God.
Katie are really holding it down in
Mm.
politics and strategy. And if they were not there, like it would be
Oh,
an entirely different
yeah,
show.
I'll give this is one of Veronica's better seasons, even though she's awful at anything that requires movement. But yeah, strategy wise, I think that she's doing great. Oh, Sam, by the way, had a line tonight where she's like, "Yeah, we could excel at a challenge like this, like a daily challenge." I said, "Oh yes." So when you don't have to move anywhere or do anything, yeah.
What I thought
It's-
was funny was the contrast between Frank and Sam. Frank is like, oh God, like we are not going to be good at this. Like we're not good at puzzles. And Sam's like, then they show Sam. She's like, we did that really quick. Like I'm really impressed by ourselves.
Yeah, if anything, Frank should be pumped for a challenge like this because it obviously benefits them more than running anywhere. So I don't know what he was talking about with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, Sam, you are such like a genuine and positive person. Like she's always finding the positivity in it, when Frank is
Well,
like so grumpy about everything.
right. Well, I mean, wouldn't you be pumped too if you weren't good at running and then all you had to do was stand there and solve a puzzle and then let the bike do the rest? I mean, there you go.
I mean, I don't think I would be pumped for a puzzle ever or going off of a cliff ever. I'm scared of heights and I'm not good at puzzles. So,
That is the one issue I have with the show this season is every damn daily and elimination involves a freaking puzzle most of the time. Like it was never that way before. It's way too buzzle. I was trying to say puzzle based or puzzle
it's
heavy.
buzzled. It's really buzzled
It's
out there.
hashtag buzzled right now. Too much of the puzzles. We don't need it. Like, just go back to just non-puzzles.
Yeah.
It's more entertaining for sure from our
Yeah.
perspective. Um,
All right. How do we want to navigate the politics of the house? Do you have a better gauge on this than I do.
But you want to talk about the House vote or just the politics in general?
I mean, I feel like there's so much
Okay, here it is.
going,
Here's
different
my breakdown of
sides.
the Frank and we'll get to Frank and Shane because that was a big
Yeah, that's
topic
the
tonight.
big bullet.
Shane was besties with Veronica for a long time, and now I kind of talked about this last week. Frank is coming in on his turf of wanting to work with Veronica as well, and Shane doesn't trust Frank, and
Hmm.
Shane is also, I don't want to say intimidated by Frank, but I think that Shane feels that Frank is not only better at politics, but he's more in shape and he's more athletic and he's all the above, and that could keep him from. That's why Shane was pushing so much for Steve and Adam to throw Frank into the elimination night just so he get rid of the guy. Like he said it was based on, well, Frank wants to get out strong players, which is true, but he was using that as a way to basically just get rid of Frank because he doesn't want to have to deal with Frank in a final possibly or just in general.
Yeah.
Because he knows that Frank doesn't want him around either.
But
But
the thing is, I can't blame Shane for distrusting Frank,
me
obviously.
too. Yeah.
Frank has had his hand in every pot in the house, talks in people's ears, wants to get everybody out. Like Shane is not wrong at all for not trusting Frank, wanting him out of the game.
Right.
But he's spiting his own friendship with Veronica. Like his hatred of Frank, I guess, is outweighing just doing right by Veronica and working with her, and it's kind of it's burning his friendship with his true friend and ally in the game. But the thing is, like, what would the alternative look like? Shane just doesn't ever say anything. You know what I mean? He just sits in the corner and like lets Frank do what Frank does and then just plays with Veronica and doesn't ever say anything. You know what I mean?
And that's
Like,
not Shane. Shane wouldn't do that. Yeah, I think he's really afraid of being backstabbed by Veronica if Frank gets into her head too much and becomes her new number one and all of the above. So I
hmm.
think he's
But
trying to put his foot in the sand.
he's
Well,
not
maybe
helping
not.
himself because he's making himself look a little bit more like a dick to Veronica that would probably entice her more to go against him. But yeah, I mean, like I said, he can't just let Frank run everything, especially if he thinks Frank is shady in the house and Frank is ultimately not going to be on Shane's side. So I don't
Yeah.
necessarily blame him for that. And I also don't blame him for like the call out at the group vote, when everybody's hanging around and TJ asks Veronica and Katie and Ashley asks too, like, well, what's the strategy or what's the strategy? And
Yeah.
and Katie and Veronica, justifiably so, are like, we're not saying our strategy out loud. Like,
Yeah.
this is the challenge. This is a game. I don't owe it to any of you for you to know the inner workings and strategy of my team. But Frank is like, oh, I'll do it. And
Yeah.
Frank's like, very obvious. 2-star holders go in. We get one out. A star becomes available for the next challenge. But then I don't blame Shane for being like, and who's a star holder
Oh, it was
here?
perfect. It was Shane
You
brilliant
and
there.
yeah, you and Sam. And Frank's like, oh, like couldn't imagine somebody like
Yeah.
called out that he
I
has a star.
literally wrote down when that was happening, I wrote, why the hell is Frank opening his mouth? He has a star. If he's saying they're going to put in 2-star holders, there's only after this vote going to be 3 or 2-star holders to choose from because Adam and Steve won the thing. So I'm like, dude, you have a 50-50 shot of going in if you're literally saying what's exactly going to happen. And it did. And they almost went in there again. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, I don't know if Adam and Steve made the right decision because not only did they not put Frank in, who in theory does want to get out big teams, and I believe
Mhm.
Adam and Steve are the only guy group left, male team. So I can't imagine them not, if they don't win the daily next week, I can't imagine people at least not considering putting them down there. First of all, they have a star, so they want to put star holders down there. And second of all, they're a male team. Unless obviously people need stars, they might want to go against a weaker star team like a Frank and Sam instead of them to try to steal a star in there.
True.
So there's that.
That's a
But my
good
whole
point
thing
of
is
leverage.
not
Yeah.
only do they not choose Frank and now Frank's safe another week, but they also put down Turbo and Nani, who freaking won, and you have Turbo who's crazy. So you think he's not going to be gunning for apparently Adam POS Larson and what he referred to as Steve as a sneaky bad guy? You referred to him as like a
Why
sneaky bad guy.
That is so funny. Steve gets the very like G-rated like Disney
Yeah.
movie. You're the sneaky bad guy.
He called them that because apparently they get along in the house and they have fun conversations. So he's like, he's nice to me in person, but he must be a sneaky bad guy. And I'm
He's the
like,
sneaky bad guy.
Turbo, welcome to the challenge finally this season, Turbo, because this is a great episode for you.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, but back to the whole Frank Shane thing. There's definitely things that Shane is doing that is very wrong. Like, I don't love the way he's having conversations with Veronica and talking down to his friend like that. And the way last week he was trying to make different game moves behind Veronica's back when she had the power. Like, that was all wrong. And also, he completely threw Devon under the bus tonight when asked, like, well, why were you trying to get a different team into elimination last week? He was like, it was Devon's plan. It was Devon's plan. And it's like,
How that was crazy.
damn,
That was
I
nuts.
cannot believe you just threw her under the bus
Yeah.
because if it was her plan, you were very excited to go do the work, though. You were
Yeah.
like very excitably presenting her plan to people instead of her doing it. So I felt like that was kind of a cop out that maybe he threw her under the bus there. But so he's doing some things wrong for sure, but I definitely like can get on the same page as him with a lot of the stuff against what Frank's doing in the house too.
Right. But his house vote move was great. Like that part where he called out Frank during the house vote, that
Mhm.
to me, I'm like,
Great.
okay, Shane, keep doing things like that and try to
Yeah.
get on good terms with Veronica because you're making that relationship hopefully still repairable in the long run, but like maybe not for this season though. Like if she has to pick, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, I don't know why it would ever come down to Veronica having to choose Frank or to send in Frank or to send in Shane into elimination or something, but if that happened, maybe she
Yeah.
might keep
No,
Frank
that
around.
was like that was the perfect call out. And I think everybody knew it. Like Nicole said it in her confessional too, but to have it said out loud, have it become a reminder, right? Because Frank is stepping in like he's this almighty voice. Like, duh, like everyone knows two star holders are going down. So it frees up a star. And it's like, but you're a star holder. So obviously you're just not saying the truth out loud. You want two strong star holders to go down. Like there's a deeper
Right.
plan here that you're trying to bury so that you don't get exposed, but you're just exposing yourself.
Yeah. Um, I mean, yeah, and so basically what happens after the House vote is Adam and Steve do have a hard decision to make. They
Mhm.
made it very clear at the beginning of the episode, at least Adam did, that they want to have two star holders in the elimination. So they only have two teams to choose from. And I don't know what the right decision is. In hindsight, it looks like it wasn't the right decision because Nani
Mhm.
and Turbo came back, and obviously now you've created an enemy. But at the same time, Turbo already didn't like Adam before he put him in there. So there was no saying that Turbo wouldn't be gunning for Adam and Steve anyways. And he was talking the other night about how strong Adam and Steve were. So maybe it wouldn't have mattered. But
I
if you can
thought
get
I remembered Adam and Steve making a deal with Turbo and Nani, right? So that they didn't, well, or maybe that was just for one elimination,
maybe,
right?
but like you don't
That saved them.
Turbo didn't like Adam at the beginning of this episode. I mean,
Yeah.
he's calling him a POS and stuff. So like,
Yeah. It was a few episodes back. It saved Nani and Turbo as well as Fessy and Amber from an elimination, and it put Dario and Ashley and Corey and Big T in. Adam made it and Steve made a deal with Nani and Turbo that episode to not throw them in. But I guess maybe that was a standalone and that wasn't like
maybe.
a season-long alliance. Because that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, well, aren't you kind of working with them? But maybe that was just a one and done sort of thing. Or Nani and Turbo haven't actually had a position of power to return the favor. So it's kind of like maybe the allyship is off, all bets are off. But yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of who I would want to throw in if I was Adam and Steve, and I was kind of like, you guys pick. Like, I'm
Yeah,
glad I
you
don't
didn't
have
want
to
to. Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know because it's always going to be a risk, Like, you have to try to get the best competition out in a sense.
right,
So they're not wrong for
right.
having the idea of putting Nani and Turbo down there, but yeah, you run the risk of them coming back in the house, and
Yeah,
they
because you have to
did.
think like you're putting Nani and Turbo in. That's great, but they're going against Ashley and Dario. Not that to say that they're not a strong team, but I mean, I'm going to choose Turbo over all three of those people. I think I mean, Turbo just like solved that puzzle. No problem. He's like, I'm not letting it get back to the Nani. I'm gonna solve like I mean,
The
stuff like that.
Nani.
Like
I
so
love it
funny. Like
so
he's like, no,
much.
I'm not gonna let it go back to her. I'm gonna solve it right now.
The
He goes,
Nani.
I got
But yeah,
warmed up
that's
on the first one.
because that's the thing with Turbo. He doesn't really have a weakness. Like he's good at
Right.
everything.
He is.
So
Yeah.
it's not as though,
I
because
mean,
like it's very
communications, him working with a partner could cause an issue though with communication
true.
skills.
You're
So that could
right.
be a weakness
Yeah,
for him.
you're
And
right.
politically in the House, you have to consider that a weakness too. Nobody wants him around. There's not like there's anyone besides Nani that's like, man, I love having Turbo in this house. So like politically, I know Pam and I talk about it more than we all talk about it, Jen, but our five assets of the challenge, social game is definitely one of them. So Turbo definitely doesn't have that.
It is. I was talking elimination, like
Yeah, yeah,
because
for
it's
sure.
easy in hindsight to think about, okay, now that we know what the elimination was, how do you think Frank and Sam would have done? It wouldn't have been an impossible one for them to win. They
No.
could have won it for
Heck yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So it's like, but before you see what the elimination is or understand how the game works, if Steve and Adam did decide to throw Frank and Sam in, they're also maybe just thinking, I'm sure Ashley and Dario are going to beat them. And then is it just like a
Right.
wash? Now we're keeping another strong team in the house again. So it's just,
Yep.
when you pick and choose like the pros and cons of the situation, I don't know.
Yeah, and here's the thing is Steve brought it up tonight, the handshake agreement between Adam and Frank. Like I 100% can see Frank easily next week voting in Adam and Steve. Like he said
Yeah,
he
for
wouldn't,
sure.
but like
100%. Yeah.
so I mean I think Adam just did his best to like accept. I don't even think Adam fully believes it, even though he did go to Steve. He's like, no, we shook hands. We see it, and it's like, well, I don't. I mean, it's
I think
Frank
he does
though.
believe it. I think he
Yeah,
believes
well.
it because, yeah,
I
I
mean,
think he felt
it's
like
Frank
if
though. I mean, and maybe he's to me he just comes off super untrustworthy. And from what we've seen in confessionals, obviously that's kind of swaying our views
yeah.
on it too, because he's literally saying things that he probably is not saying to the people. Like, I'm going to just stir the pot and do all this crazy stuff and make promises that I can't keep. He's obviously not saying that to the other competitors, so maybe that's why Adam has more belief that Frank will keep his word. But yeah, I don't trust Frank at all. So
But I don't think Adam has ever played with Frank before. And Adam's closest with Veronica and Katie, and Veronica and Katie seem to be vibing with and working with Frank. So I see Adam
there you go.
taking a handshake and an eye contact as a true promise.
There it is. Yeah. What did you think of Hold Up tonight in the jungle? It was called Hold Up.
Hold up. I liked the elimination.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was okay.
Yeah, I thought
I wish it was a little harder to hold it up, if you will. Like I know
yeah,
Nani
that's
was saying
true.
that it was, but I'm like,
It
I
looked pretty
almost
easy to hold.
it
Yeah,
looked
it
pretty
didn't even
freaking
look like
easy.
they weren't even shaking or like,
No. I
losing
wanted it
their
to be
breath.
like where they were solving it and pieces were kind of falling off, but like all you had to do was that wasn't that challenging. The idea of it every minute having to restart it, that was pretty cool. Thought that was a fun twist because I mean, after all, we're seeing like 100 puzzles on this season, so at least they tried to make it different for us to for it to be a little more enjoyable.
Yeah,
But
it did seem like a tougher puzzle than what we've seen. Yeah, I mean, I also the fact that the puzzle pieces fall off adds another element, another
yeah,
part to it. Having 3 minutes feels like a long time, but it seemed like a confusing enough puzzle that they needed to
that
like
looked weird. Yeah, that was a
it
weird looking
looked really
puzzle.
weird. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean,
Look,
poor
let me ask
Ashley.
this on the Dario and Ashley side, like if someone was going to solve that puzzle, who was it going to be?
It's gonna be our girl
It was
Ashley.
going to be Ashley for sure.
Yeah.
And then, but on the Nani and Turbo side, I thought it would be Turbo, but I also thought Nani would have a better chance than Dario. So I was like, I was just leaning that way. I don't think Dario had a clue on how to solve this thing. So I just didn't. So, I mean, to me, the chance of Turbo and Nani not winning this, I felt was pretty slim going in. I had no spoilers. I
Yeah.
didn't know who was going to win it, but I just thought it was a pretty,
You're right. Maybe I wasn't putting enough stock into how good Turbo is at everything and not just being an athlete with like
right.
pack abs. Um, because I did see, you're right, Dario did have his own 3 minutes. Maybe I didn't really think of that through either because I was like, I could see this. This isn't equalized enough elimination that, yeah, I guess
It is if
Dario and
you're good,
Ashley
if
could
they're
be
both teams
walking
are
out
good
of
at
here.
puzzles, if both
Yeah,
teams are good
who
at puzzles,
knows?
it's super equalized. Yeah.
It was one going in that I was like, maybe this is a Dario and Ashley, but they started to do a lot of the red herrings in Ashley and Dario's favor.
Oh, yeah.
Veronica said,
They're so good at
"Oh, they're
communicating.
so much better. They're gonna win this." And I was
Oh,
like,
that's such a when Veronica when they kept that confessional of Veronica, I said, give the win to Turbo and Nani.
seriously,
Like,
I
what
was
are we
so annoyed.
doing?
I know. It was
Cut
so
those out.
insulting. Yeah, it was like, okay, thanks. We obviously know what the fuck's happening now.
Yeah,
Like,
so ridiculous. I can't
yeah.
stand that stuff that they left that in.
Yeah.
All right. Final thoughts on this episode. I do have a little not gossip, maybe gossip, but like a news and gossip thing I
Okay.
wanted to bring up. I sent it to you and Pam, but before we get into that, do you have any final thoughts on this episode? I
No,
thought
I mean,
it was
it's
great. I thought it was great.
yeah, really great episode. I feel bad for Ashley that she's leaving. Kind of a similar,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, similar situation to last week where I feel bad for Amber leaving. And Fessy was fine this season, but Dario did participate in the coup to get his best friend out. So it's kind of like, yeah, buddy, you really fucked your long game here. Like you got rid of your best friend and number one
Yeah.
ally who was
And
really good
now
at the
and now your
game.
ally's
Like,
gone, so you're going in multiple times. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
and you were up for elimination the very next week, and now you're in elimination again, being sent home. So yeah.
Speaking of Dario, did you see online someone made fun of it that like he like shaved his head halfway through the season, so it'll go from like him having hair to no hair like this.
So funny. He's using your hair light.
Apparently to just grow all this hair crazy. But my question is, like, he must have done it without the producer's consent because I'm sure the producers are on them like, hey, don't make any drastic changes because
Sure.
we're
Yeah.
using these shots throughout the season, these confessionals, and it looks ridiculous when it goes back and forth between his shaved head and when he has hair. It looks
It's
absurd.
hilarious. To be honest, I didn't notice it myself until I saw that Instagram
Right.
post.
Same
It's really
here.
funny.
Yeah.
It honestly did go over my head, so
But
it
now I
wasn't.
notice it every damn time. Luckily, he's done for the season, but I was like, oh, what is happening?
But it's funny because I think somebody said he shaved it himself, and it's like his
I,
best friend actually Leroy is a barber, so it's like you could have had a barber shave it for you if you let your friend stay in the
Yeah,
game.
there you go. Literally, a strong team, and Fessy made this point. He's like, why would I get rid of a strong team? Because after them, they're going to start gunning for me. And sure enough, they did, and now Fessy's gone. But like, yeah, why are you trying to get rid of Leroy and Devin? Not only are they your allies, but they're considered a stronger team than you and Ashley. So what the hell why would you get rid? I get your odds are better in the end. Yeah, try to get rid of them last week. Like in the last week of the season, not episode 4 or 5, whenever they got rid of them.
Yeah, and
Anyways.
I'm not up on social media as much for the challenge world, but I'm just imagining, I'm sure Devin is like all over Twitter about this, I feel. I don't know for
I haven't
sure,
seen
but
stuff on that.
I feel like he's pretty like whenever I do see like the challenge T Instagrams, I feel like he's like pretty active on it. He's one of
Yeah.
the constant ones who like always has like a tweet about something. So considering, that Devin just got out, I'm sorry, that Dario just got eliminated this week, I'm sure he's
Oh
probably up on.
yeah. I'm sure there's stuff on social media now with him too. My news and gossip was actually about I sent it to you and Pam. Did you have a chance to look at your DMs yet or no?
No, Dan, I saw that you sent me something and I basically covered my eyes
No,
because
it's not. I don't send spoilers to you. Oh, you don't even want that as a spoiler?
it said, oh, I see it now. I thought it was going to be an entire potential list, but it's only one potential person.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if
Okay.
you don't want to look at that either, then don't look at it. It's just a potential.
Well,
I
I
mean,
already looked at it.
well, but okay, so we'll tell the audience at home what we're talking about here. Mark Long, well, Coral went on some type of social media platform and said that she got a call from Mark Long, who was just casually asking her if she'd be interested in going on All Stars season 6. And
Does
she's
that mean she's casted?
it doesn't at all. But I just wanted to get you and Pam's opinion tonight. Pam obviously couldn't make it, and that's totally fine. She'll be back next week. But I want to get your opinion on it. Are you excited for something like this to possibly happen? And also, Mark Long would like season 6 of All Stars to be X's based.
Oh,
So
that'd be good.
again, I would be pumped for both of those things. Coral
Oh
back,
yeah.
X's.
Yep.
What X could you put with Coral though? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not that her and the Miz ever dated, but if her and the Miz teamed up, that'd be insane.
That would be,
But
yeah.
that's not an X's season, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be fun to see. I mean, I
I
love an
mean,
exes and arrivals. They're like my favorite themes. So
oh, they are. They're the
yeah,
great.
they're the best.
All right. Well, I look. I will. I don't. I try to. Maybe I'll have to send spoilers. I don't really talk spoilers. So, but you don't even like
No,
cast lists. You don't
I
like
know. I
cast.
guess the cast list, it's inevitable, right? Like even if it's not
Now
a
it is. It
spoiler,
wasn't back in the day. Back in the day, I never knew who the hell was going to be on the next season. It was the best. But they've already released the cast list for 41.
they did. Yeah.
They
I don't
did.
love knowing until I watch it. I like to
I don't
keep
I don't
that
mind knowing the
surprise.
cast list ahead of time, but like there's some of the challenge Instagram people I follow, they'll put up spoilers, but at least they're really good about it. What they do is they put on like spoilers like in multiple pictures ahead of it,
Yeah.
like spoilers ahead. So even if you scroll by it twice, it'll still say spoilers for the second. Because you know on Instagram, when you go by a feed the second time, it'll show you that second picture if they have more than one picture on there,
Yes.
whatever that
I've
post is.
noticed
Yeah.
that. Also, one time I got something spoiled for me, but I think it was wrong. So, about a winner who didn't actually win. So, sometimes it's not
When was
always.
this?
I think that was last season. I thought somebody said Laurel won, but she didn't win
Oh,
last
she definitely
season.
didn't
So,
win. She cried like a little baby when she left, or she acted like a little baby when she
didn't
left.
want to run anymore. She didn't want to do it anymore.
No,
So,
she did not. All right, final thoughts on this episode. We kind of already did that. None. We're good. Okay,
we're done.
we're
Next
done. All right.
episode. No,
Uh,
I'm enjoying it. I hope like the whole drama politics of the house keeps rolling. Let's see what's
yeah.
up. We got a little splash of everybody tonight, you know?
Look, in all honesty, there's only three teams left without a star. Someone's going to get it at the daily next week, which means there'll only be two teams that don't have a chance to get a star yet. So they could, in theory, get one in the elimination at the end of episode 9. They could put themselves in after they don't win the daily. They might be. They may, okay, I didn't get it at the daily. I got to go for it now because they're guaranteed there's going to be only two teams without a star. So one of them could be like, put me in. I don't care. I want it because it's going to happen. And then there's going to be one more episode. And then maybe we get the finale for episode 11. But I really honestly think that next week is going to be everyone's last chance to maybe get a star. And then
Yeah, maybe.
episode 10 would be the finale. I mean, I don't,
Yeah, or maybe it's a 12 episode run, like 10,
that would be cool.
like 10 true season
Yeah.
sorry.
And then a double,
10
yeah.
true in-season episodes, and then it's a final and a reunion, maybe.
Or they don't usually do reunions for the All Stars. So I was thinking it might be a double, two-part finale, but they don't usually do that either. So
Yeah.
it's weird. We'll see. We'll have to see.
See.
All right.
We'll
We'll see
see.
you all next week for another episode of the Challenge After Show. Pam will I would think Pam would be back. So if you missed
Don't
Pam
make
this
any
week,
promises.
I don't want to make promises. If you missed Pam this week, let us know in the comments and also hashtag buzzled if you're still listening
Buzzled.
because I'm losing my mind. All right. See y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.